Let's end cashless bail. Here's video of Donald Trump signing that order.
Street all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C., and that we have the right to do through federalization. Okay, let's go. Could I ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America
Almost
have adopted.
all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that.
He knew nothing about what he was signing. That's why he asked the gentleman to talk about it. He was learning about it for the first time. But he signed it. And then he hands a pen. Look, aren't you feel lucky? All right. Donald Trump on Monday signed an executive order aimed at eliminating cashless bail in the United States by threatening to cut federal funding to jurisdictions that allow the practice. Trump has long rallied against cashless bail, in which criminal defendants are not required to post bail when they face lesser charges. Studies have shown that such policies have not led to an increase in crime. But Mr. Trump and conservative lawmakers argue that the practice is a safety threat that results in more accused criminals being released out on the streets. Somebody kills somebody, they go and don't worry about it, Mr. Trump told reporters on Monday as he signed the order. No cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. New York Times would quote. The order comes as Mr. Trump has launched a crackdown on crime in Washington, has threatened to turn next to Chicago and New York. And while he has cast his current effort as a success, Mr. Trump has also relied on exaggerated figures to paint a picture of soaring violence in the nation's capital. Trump's executive order instructs Attorney General Pam Bondi to identify which jurisdictions have substantially eliminated cash bail as a potential condition for crimes that pose a clear threat to public safety and order. And he wants that done in 30 days. Release the Epstein files first. Unredacted. Proponents of cashless bail argue that the cash bail system is unfair since wealthier individuals can pay to free themselves, Epstein, from jail. Poorer individuals cannot afford to do so while their cases play out. They argue courts should consider whether an individual is a threat to the community, not how wealthy they are. Epstein. When deciding whether they can be released ahead of trial. But opponents of cashless bail, like Mr. Trump, argue that the practice is too lenient. Starting in the late 2010s, many states started to reconsider bail laws. New Jersey, Alaska, they were among the first states to eliminate bail for many criminal cases. 2019, New York passed a similar law. The measure meant that judges would not be able to set bail for misdemeanors and non-violent felonies like assault without serious injury and burglary. The impetus for change in New York was the case of Kayleigh Browder, Bronx teen who spent 3 years on Rikers Island. That as he awaited trial accused of stealing a backpack. Case was eventually dismissed. Mr. Browder later killed himself at his parents' home. Using data from 2015 through 2021, the Brennan Center for Justice, nonprofit think tank, studied 22 cities that had changed bail laws, comparing them with 11 cities that had not. Guess what the report found? No statistically significant relationship between bail reform and crime rates. So those are just the facts, Senator. Not to mention the money, just housing someone, keeping them. Let's say you don't care about people and their well-being and due process and who has the money and who doesn't. It's a drain. It's not the right thing to do. Are we a debtor's prison? county jail, whatever. Your turn.
Yeah, we are. We are. I mean, even in the 13th Amendment, there's a loophole. Not chattel slavery loophole, but there's a loophole, and that was created at the time that slavery was abolished by the 13th Amendment, except for, crime and imprisonment. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but that's the loophole within it. Khalid Browder, who you just named, couldn't afford the $3,000 bail money. And after all that young man went through, and then he killed himself. The bail system itself is it's a class-based and a caste-based system, meaning it is based on how much money one has or does not have. And there is also a racialized component to it as well. I'm so glad you shared those stats, that there's not any difference between municipalities or jurisdictions that have more of a cashless bail system and those who continue to have cash. Now, another stat that I'm getting from CNN, in the U.S., about 562,000 people are detained in local jails, and about 80% of them have not been convicted of a crime. And that is according to the Prison Policy Initiative. People have to understand that just because that is the way that things have been always done doesn't mean that there should not be a change. And there was an outcry from activists who are trying to get more justice in this system, not people who want to see violent criminals run free in the streets, which is not happening writ large. It is a narrative that this administration and others are pushing, and it has dangerous consequences, both on the class level, especially per usual, and on the caste level, which is race. And it's wrong.
Lock them up. There's an industry for that. Hell, I look back at Ferguson, remember? Yeah. That whole thing, we know what it was rooted in. The tiny police force, Ferguson's this big, couple streets.
Yes.
The entire force was living and eating good off of the people's back. It was actually a debtor's prison to support these cops. So there's no need for this.
No.
We'll see what changes. Just follow the money, though, folks, please.
That's it, always.